The night of December 29, 1972 was clear and calm over South Florida. Miami glittered below, welcoming travelers from the cold north. Aboard Eastern Airlines Flight 401, a Lockheed L-1011 TriStar, holiday cheer filled the cabin as the flight neared Miami. Captain Robert Loft, First Officer Albert Stockstill, and Second Officer Donald Repo guided the plane with practiced ease. The TriStar was a marvel of modern aviation, quiet, advanced and safe. Passengers settled in, some reading, some chatting, others dozing as the city lights drew closer. Everything felt routine, the kind of night pilots dream of. Suddenly a small green light on the instrument panel failed to illuminate, meant to confirm the nose landing gear was locked. The crew, determined to ensure safety, informed the tower they'd circle over the Everglades to troubleshoot. It was a minor delay, a standard precaution. No one suspected that this tiny malfunction would trigger a chain of events leading to disaster. The calm of the night masked the danger that was moments away. For everyone on board, it was just another flight, until it wasn't. The fate of Flight 401 was about to change forever. High above the Everglades, the crew's focus narrowed to the stubborn landing gear light. Don Repo descended into the avionics bay to check the gear, while the others tried to solve the puzzle from the cockpit. In their distraction, no one noticed the autopilot's altitude hold had been disengaged. The TriStar began a slow, silent descent, unnoticed by the crew. First Officer Stockstill briefly questioned the altitude, but it was too late. The jet, shrouded in darkness, struck the swamp at over 200 miles per hour. The aircraft disintegrated, scattering wreckage and passengers across the Everglades. In seconds, routine turned to chaos. The crash claimed 101 lives, including all 3 men in the cockpit. A single faulty light bulb had led one of the world's safest airliners to disaster. The tragedy of Flight 401 was set in motion by a moment's distraction. The Everglades swallowed the wreckage, and the legend began. The aftermath was a nightmare: darkness, twisted metal, and freezing swamp water. Survivors, dazed and injured, struggled to escape the wreckage, miles from help. Local airboat operator Bud Marquis, out hunting frogs, rushed to the scene, becoming the first rescuer. He ferried survivors to safety, risking his life amid leaking fuel and alligators. Coast Guard helicopters and emergency crews soon arrived, wading through the swamp to reach the injured. The rescue was a race against time and the elements. 75 people survived, but 101 perished, including the entire cockpit crew. The dedication of Loft, Stockstill and Repo was remembered, their final moments spent trying to ensure safety. The wreckage lingered in the swamp for weeks as investigators pieced together the tragedy. The memory of that night haunted all who were there. But the story of Flight 401 was far from over. After the investigation, Eastern Airlines salvaged undamaged parts from the wreckage. These components, ovens, instruments, galley fixtures, were inspected and installed in other TriStar jets. At first, no one thought twice. It was standard practice. But soon, whispers began among flight crews assigned to planes with these salvaged parts. Cold spots, strange feelings, and malfunctioning equipment became common tales. The atmosphere on these planes shifted from routine to uneasy. Stories grew. The salvaged parts seemed to carry more than just their function. The mystery deepened as reports connected the strange events to the crew of doomed Flight 401. Apparitions and warnings began to surface. The soul of Flight 401, it seemed, had not rested in the swamp. It was flying again, haunting the very planes built from its remains. The first ghostly tales emerged from the galleys of TriStars fitted with Flight 401's parts. Flight attendants reported seeing the face of a man, often in a flight engineer's uniform, reflected in oven doors. The apparition, matching Don Repo's description, would vanish when confronted. Ovens turned on by themselves, circuit breakers tripped for no reason, and strange noises echoed in empty cabins. Some heard disembodied voices or persistent knocking from the avionics bay, where Repo had checked the gear that night. The encounters were vivid and consistent, shared by multiple crew members. The spirits seemed sad, not malicious, perhaps trying to warn or protect. The story spread, and the legend grew. The haunting was not just rumor, it was a shared experience among professionals. The whispers in the galley were only the beginning. The ghosts of Flight 401 were making themselves known. The apparitions became more distinct, seen by pilots, attendants, even airline executives. Captain Loft and Don Repo appeared in full uniform, sometimes speaking to the living. One captain saw Loft in the flight engineer's seat, who calmly said, "I've already done the pre-flight," then vanished. Another time a flight attendant and captain saw Repo in first class. He disappeared before their eyes, witnessed by passengers. The ghosts were not threatening, they seemed to be watching over the planes. Repo's apparition once pointed out a hidden electrical fault, later confirmed by maintenance. These were credible, first-hand accounts, too many to ignore. Even a vice president spoke with Loft's ghost, only to realize the man was long dead. The evidence mounted, and the airline could no longer dismiss the stories as mere superstition. The ghosts of Flight 401 were not just haunting, they were still on duty. Their presence was a chilling yet strangely protective force in the skies. The legend was now impossible to contain. The haunting had become part of airline lore. The ghosts of Flight 401 didn't just appear, they tried to communicate. Crew members heard voices over the intercom, warning of danger. On one flight, a voice cautioned, "Watch out for fire!" The plane later suffered an engine fire, just as predicted. Attendants heard groans and comforting words from unseen presences while working alone. Sudden cold spots, phantom footsteps, and fleeting glimpses of familiar faces became routine. Passengers, too, reported conversations with crew members who matched the descriptions of those lost in the crash. The consistency of these encounters was striking. Different crews, same stories, same planes. The apparitions of Loft and Repo were seen as guardians, not threats. The pattern was clear. The ghosts were tied to the salvaged parts. Their warnings may have saved lives, even after death. The legend of Flight 401's haunted jets was now undeniable. Eastern Airlines faced a dilemma: publicly deny the hauntings but privately investigate. Officially, management dismissed the stories as rumor and stress. Behind the scenes, they quietly interviewed crew members and tracked the incidents. The pattern was clear. Hauntings occurred only on planes with salvaged parts from Flight 401. Without fanfare, Eastern ordered all such parts removed from their fleet. Ovens, instruments, and fixtures were crated up and disposed of. Afterward, the ghostly encounters abruptly ceased. The airline never admitted the truth, but their actions spoke volumes. By removing the parts, they hoped to lay the spirits to rest. The strange chapter closed, but the legend endured. The ghosts of Flight 401 had finally been grounded. The story of Flight 401's ghosts split opinion: believers versus skeptics. Believers pointed to the sheer number and credibility of witnesses, and the sudden end of hauntings after the parts were removed. They saw the spirits as tied to the wreckage, seeking closure. Skeptics argued it was collective trauma, stress, and suggestion at work. They cited psychological explanations: pareidolia, grief, and the quirks of a new aircraft. Yet some incidents defied easy explanation, like executives seeing and speaking with the apparitions. The debate became a classic clash of experience versus science. For those who saw the ghosts, no proof was needed. The legend of Flight 401 remains suspended between chilling ghost story and psychological case study. The mystery endures, unresolved. Flight 401's legacy is twofold: aviation safety and enduring legend. The crash led to crew resource management training, revolutionizing cockpit teamwork and saving countless lives. The crew's tragic mistake became a catalyst for global safety improvements. Their story is honored in every cockpit where CRM is practiced. Beyond aviation, Flight 401 became one of the most famous ghost stories of the 20th century. The tale blends tragedy, duty, and the mysteries of life after death. Whether you believe or not, it's a reminder of the human element behind technology. The ghosts were seen as protectors, not monsters, trying to prevent further disaster. The legend lives on, a whisper in aviation history, a story of loss, legacy, and the unknown. The spirits may be gone, but their story continues to fly.